Hello, my name is Adam Murray and welcome to Extra Time. I'll ask you to like the video and subscribe to our channel as it really helps us out. Today, joining me with Mr. Briggs is player, manager, referee and WLR radio presenter Gavin Whelan. Welcome to the show, Gavin.
Yeah, thanks a million, Adam. Thanks for having me. And just to start, I suppose, just compliments to yourselves there and all the TYs there inside Declan's what you're doing. The podcasts have been really entertaining there the last while, has kept us going. So just hats off to all the work you put in. So yeah, delighted to be honest. Thanks for having me.
And I'll start with the refereeing. You're young enough when you got into the refereeing. So how did you end up getting into it in the first place?
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of a weird one, really. It kind of happened by accident, really. I wasn't really too keen on it to start. It was actually, I think it was a course on below Mount Sinai, and it was my mother actually encouraged me to go and give it a go, you know. So I went down, and Shane's clubmate there, Pat Moore, be well known, was kind of giving the course, and you know he was very enthusiastic about it, and you know kind of willingness to get involved. So I suppose once you did the course, then and you got a few games, it kind of flowed after that, you know. So I think the first game I did was actually my own club, St. Pat's, and I think they played format of Waterford. It was under 12 at the time, when say under 12 was a competitive championship. You know, now it's town and country. So like back then, the under 12 was a really serious championship, like and hard to win. So started off doing that game, and it kind of flowed from there. Brendan Tobin and Tornina was involved in Board and Oak at the time. He was appointing the ref. So in fairness, he was very good. And Trish Welch, my own clubmate there, Colin Dunford's mother, of course, would be well known. She was involved in Board and Oak too. So there was no shortage of games. You were put into these games. At first it was a bit kind of daunting, because I was reffing games, maybe players were only maybe 1 or 2 years older than me, so you had to kind of have your wits about you as such. But once you got into the flow of it, I think it was flowed from there. So yeah, it's hard to believe now. I'd say I know I'm only 28, but I'd say I've probably 14 or 15 years refereeing experience behind me, between the various levels of that, which is kind of weird when you think of it that way. But look, it's a thankless job at times. But look, I think you get great enjoyment out of it too. You know what I mean? It's a good way, I suppose, to see young players like yourself, Adam, growing up, and get to see all the talent that's out there as well is a good aspect of it. But look, I think without referees at the end of the day, you wouldn't have them, So I know you had Tyler on there a few weeks ago, and he was, he mentioned the kind of struggle we have kind of for refs at the minute, so that's still a big thing there in the county. So yeah, so that's how it kind of started anyway. So hard to believe, I don't know, it's probably 14 or 15 years ago now, which is you know what I mean? Look, fellas will probably have their own opinion of me, what I'm like at it. But look, I'd like to think I'm not too bad at it anyway. There's probably another few years in the referee left anyway,
And is it tough to still find the time for it with the coaching and on the radio and all that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the big thing. I suppose, look, a lot of my thing is probably, a lot of people say I'm pretty caught up too much, but I suppose it's, when you're so indulged in the GA and that, you love it really, you do it, and especially at the minute, like you're really missing it, you bite your hand off now to go out and do a game, but I suppose, look, a lot of it comes down to, the fact we are kind of short, so you're nearly getting calls every night, you know what I mean? So you're trying to balance training, I suppose, being involved with county teams, and then you're trying to, you're doing your radio work or your commentary gigs there and things like that. So it's kind of actually what to choose. But, I would like to try and get in maybe 2 or 3 games a week. Usually Monday night is kind of a dedicated Board and Oak night, which is usually a night I am free. So I kind of like Monday evening games. Then after that, you could be thrown into whatever game, yourself. But it was tough now, even last year, there were some times where I was playing a match that day, you could go reffing that night, or you could be reffing an underage game that morning. So it was pretty challenging that way. But I suppose a lot of it comes down to that, they're so stuck that you nearly, you're giving them a bit of a dig out. But yeah, it was pretty helter-skelter now last year when the games were coming thick and fast, But yeah, I suppose, look, to answer your question, probably is challenging at times, but look, just get on with it,
And Gavin, Adam kind of mentioned it there. Jeez, when I was kind of sitting down this morning to think about this, I was like, I get given out to enough at home, but I was wondering, where does this man actually find the time for all this stuff? But like, someday you'll be finished playing. Hopefully you have a good few years left in you. But I suppose it's great to have the option to continue that lifelong learning in GA through either your radio work, your manager work, or your refereeing work. So do you see yourself kind of taking that step more into refereeing in the future, or is it just you're happy to referee a lot of underage games and just games in Waterford as opposed to inter-county?
Yeah, I suppose I haven't given it too much thought, Shane. I suppose you're right. I suppose you're just gone every night of the week. It's it can be fairly challenging at times and quite daunting, but I suppose you do it because you enjoy it, and look, at the moment, I think I'm happy enough doing the club games here in Waterford. I think I like actually that kind of, say, Board and Oak level, and I've been still involved in the committee in Board and Oak there as well, and secretary there for a few years, that say that kind of under 13 to maybe under 18, maybe under 17. I think those games are nice to do, because they're just interested in kind of playing, and as well as that you're seeing what guys are coming up as well, which kind of helps you then from being involved with squads and that. So like, I haven't done a whole pile of adult games. I've done a few games in fairness, and I've done county finals at nearly all levels, maybe except the higher grades. But down the line, I suppose maybe you'd like to maybe step up and maybe do a few more adult games down the line. But as I say, it's something to fall back on at the minute, when you're trying to concentrate on playing as well. Look, they always say play as long as you can. So look, I like to think there's a few if Johnny Wall and them fellas are still going, Colleague and Shane, there's surely another 20 years left in me yet. So we'll see how that's going anyway,
And would there be any rule changes you'd like to see that would make it easier, just as a referee, I suppose?
Yeah, sure. Look, I suppose it's a hot topic at the minute, Adam, isn't it? Like, I think, like, there's a lot of it there's a lot of pressure on refs, I think, really. So I think maybe, say at adult level, I know they've introduced the last couple of years where they're linesmen at games and things, but maybe get them more involved as regards maybe calling things or helping out the ref or the umpires and things like that. I know they're wired up at senior level, but I think maybe at club level that could come in as well, because it's gone so competitive now. You know what I mean? Every game is big, and even underage now as well. There's a lot of tactics gone into it, and you have maybe a lot of, if you were going to an underage match and on your own and you've no umpires and no linesmen, there's a lot, you don't have eyes in the back of your head, you can't see what's going on after the ball, so that's pretty challenging at times as well. But look, I suppose there is probably a few rules you'd like to see maybe looked at, maybe in hurling and stuff like that. But I suppose the cynical foul, and I know it's in for inter-county now and that, but look, that's probably, at the end of the day, it's probably a win at all cost game as well, isn't it? Like, so look, it's going to be, I suppose it's hard to think of that off the top of my head now at the minute, but probably a few little bits and pieces. But I think maybe the officials do need a bit more help, I think, especially at club level there. Shane will often tell you go into a game there, they're so pretty stuck for refs that you end up going in there on your own. You've no umpires, no linesmen. It can be pretty daunting as well, if you've one club shouting at you, another club, it can be pretty challenging at times. But yeah, I think that's the big thing really, to have more help. And I suppose I've been lucky too, as I have a good few of the lads here in the club who would always help me. I'd always try and bring my 4 umpires to whatever adult games I'd be doing, in fairness, and so they'd all be jumping on board, especially when the season passes were there for the 4 umpires. You were getting tickets there. They were all there was nearly 10 or 12 fellas queuing up, so I'd say nearly pick and choose at that stage, which was tough enough. But sure, look, we'll look forward to the year ahead, I suppose, when we get back at it,
And onto the playing then. When would you start playing with Colleague?
Yeah, well, I suppose I would have played with St. Pat's would be our juvenile equivalent, and would have started off there the usual, I suppose, 4 or 5 up in the indoor hall up there in Kilbrine. We used to be kind of there every kind of Friday night. That was kind of where it started really, and you graduated on then to say at under 12 level. We were combined with Nave Breed there, and for a few years, and we actually won a county final at under 12 when the under 12 was a really competitive Board and Oak championship. I think we actually bet Butlerstown after a replay, and sure, at the time we thought we were brilliant, that was great. But we actually didn't win it in that same age group all the way up. We actually didn't win anything. We lost a few semi-finals, we lost a few finals. Now a few of us went on to play under 21, and we won a title there with Cumber Gales. We bet Kilmac in the county final there, and then it was kind of progressed onto the adult scene then, which Colligan in 2008, I think, was my first year. I started off playing Junior B the first couple of years. I suppose we were there. We had the second team, and we actually won a football Junior B that year with Colligan. We bet Dungarvan's second team there back in Tornina. So that was kind of the start of it. So it was kind of a chasing experience. I suppose it was grand, because when you guys that kind of Pat Dunford, I suppose, playing with you, they were well able to look after you, and I suppose they did all the kind of the donkey work, I suppose, and I just kind of stayed out in the corner and go over a few scores and things like that. So that's how it kind of started. Yeah, it's hard to believe, like 2008, watching now that the years don't be long gone. I was only talking to Johnny Wall about it the other day up at our own club lotto there, saying the years, they don't be long ticking away, and I'm sure Shane you would allude to that as well. But so I suppose just kind of enjoy every year. So that's how it kind of started really with the club. So yeah, I suppose still going strong on that front. I'd like to think there's a few more years left in it there. So yeah, that's when it started really, 2008. I suppose after that, you just take it year on year. So we've been unlucky, I suppose. We've had a few close calls, I suppose, like looking back at last year, we won the West Hurling Junior A against Torino. It was our first hurling title since 1992, which incidentally, that was the year I was born, actually. So it was it's a long while waiting for a hurling title. And unfortunately, we didn't go the whole way then. Tramore bet us, deservedly so in the county final. So yeah, that's how the whole Colligan thing started. But look, we're not blessed with a massive pool of players. We have a few coming through now this year, which is great. It's going to be a massive addition. But there's been a few years there where we found it hard to keep it going, But look, we're still going strong. There's great facilities up there. There's great community and great committee there as well. So yeah, no, look, great club to be a part of, in fairness,
And Gavin, like, actually just thinking about Colligan there, I actually made my debut, you said 2008, 1998 intermediate hurling against Colligan. And I remember coming on and I was marking Jimmy Beresford, and he was a super stalwart. But like the importance of junior clubs, yeah, you might only say you're not Ballygunner in terms of population or Abbeyside, but like through the years I look back and like, and you've produced some super players, obviously Jimmy, then you're coming like to John Wall, like obviously Colin, and then there's another group of, Joe Booth and a few more lads coming through now. Like, I mean, it is vital that even the junior clubs put the work in for the good of not just themselves, but for the county.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, 100%. And as I say, look, we have been lucky and we have had great representation. Like, you mentioned Jimmy, and like Jimmy's son, we were delighted to get Liam up as well this year. I know he tried to hang on to him and Abbeyside for a good few years, so we're glad to get Liam back to where he belongs. But no, as I say, and like John Wall, like Sean Dempsey was there for a few years. I know he's gone from us now. Colin, of course, leading the line there now with seniors and that. Joe Booth, I think there's four young guys coming up this year as well. Like, from last year's minor team, which was quite strong there at under 17 level. So as I say, it's important to have that. And then when you have a guy on a county team as well, it's there's interest there in the community and things like that as well. And we have guys like Colin Dunford and Johnny Wall training, and these guys, it kind of spurs you on as well. So I think it's important, to have that youth coming through every year, because for a while we didn't have it. I was just looking back through a few pictures there actually the other night in 2016 when we won the junior football. Actually, we bet Ballygunner after a replay. Can't call it, but anyway. We actually only had 19 players for the replay that day. I was looking at the photo. 19 players is all we had. I think they had 33 tugged out. So it was actually an amazing feat in a way to actually pull it off that day. But as I say, look, that's the years you have. Some years you just struggle and you get on with it. But as I say, look, we've kept it going over the years, and that's down to say all the efforts of trainers and selectors and the committee as well. As I see at the minute now, like, we're up doing the club lotto there on the Sunday morning, and, the online sales and things are going well since we introduced that. So they're the aspects of it as well behind the scenes that, I suppose at the minute isn't really important because there's no kind of on-field activity, So, yeah, there's a lot of good work going on, not just in our club, but in every club. It's a challenging time for every club. But look, I suppose we'll appreciate it a bit more, I suppose, we're back at it, Shane,
And how did you find 2020? And did you enjoy the effect of the split season?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it, Adam, to be honest. I think, look, for a while we were, we didn't think we'd see anything, and then it all came all of a sudden. Look, it was pretty fast and it was a bit quick in the end because you were going week on week, and it's probably something maybe from our point of view kind of caught up with us in the end, you know what I mean? Because we probably, we didn't have, we had a big enough panel last year, but I suppose it's the same guys kind of playing every week, and you weren't doing much in between. But I welcome that set dates. We went long enough, and Shane knows this as well. Like, this thing of playing 2 games in April, and then you might play again till August, and you're trying to keep it going through June and July, and numbers drop, and it's just kind of players need stuff to aim for, I think, at any level. And I think when the split season there was announced a couple of weeks ago there to go forward as well, that was welcome. But I thought 2020 worked really well. In fairness to the various boards, they had a huge task. Like, it was an awful lot of fixtures. I know it myself. It was from say cool camps during the day to refing or training or playing a match to then doing the bit of commentary for the streamings there as well between Nematon and Rua TV and Keano Halloran and these guys as well. So it was really, really enjoyable, you know what I mean? Because it was great to be back at it. But I suppose, look, maybe in hindsight, we went kind of, I think it was 9 weeks in a row we were playing, because that was our own, I suppose, doing for, that's what you do sometimes to be successful, getting to a final is, you're playing week on week. But I know after losing the hurling final to Tramore, we turned around and play football then, I think 5 days later. It was just kind of hard to get the bodies up for that, and we ended up losing those 2 games then, and we were out of football then. But look, thankfully, I suppose there was no relegation in the intermediate football last year, so we're still up there this year. Like, so, yeah, no, it was certainly it was a welcome championship. Look, you would have liked to have an extra week or 2, but in the end of the day, it was just great to be back playing this year, and you'd take your hand off it if you were told you'd have the same thing again this year. At the minute, the way things are going, you'd nearly take it again, Adam.
And Gavin, you mentioned there about, I suppose, sometimes refereeing being a bit of a labour of love. That brings us neatly on, and I don't want to be disparaging to football in the county, but like, you've I suppose, put a massive amount of time in the last number of years into minor under 20 teams with the football. And like, there is no two ways about it. I played enough myself. It is a labour of love in Waterford, and sometimes you don't get the support you need. But like, you really need to be passionate about it. And I think, in fairness to yourself, that really comes true. That like, you need to put not just the time in, but you want to really love it. Where did all that come about?
Yeah, I suppose it's an interesting one. It's a tough question, Shane, to be honest. But I suppose really, again, it was, I suppose, being involved in Board and Oak there when I was young, and I suppose a lot of that came from, say, my parents were driving me around. My late grandfather as well, Rory Wiley, who, of course, he'd be well known. He was brilliant to me, driving me around there to games. He was taking the photos, and I suppose you'd be gradually just building up kind of information or seeing this guy or that guy. So I suppose the knowledge was kind of always there. And I remember kind of one time, then again, I think it was by accident. I think it was a Jim Power tournament on Lowood Kill one day where the West played the East, and that's still going strong. Of course, Adam would have played in that a couple of years ago. And I was there kind of going down on behalf of the kind of board, and I think they were kind of stuck for 1 or 2 selectors. I remember being asked to, look, would you step in and take the team there for the day, or do the warm up with them and see, you know what I mean? And that was with the West Waterford team, and look, that's how it actually started. So it would have been, say, the gang then that would have went on and represented Waterford, Jim Power. So that year, then after that, I was kind of asked to stay on West Waterford in that game. Look, will you stay on board? And I was like, look, it's a great opportunity, and I suppose I was glad to do it, and delighted to be asked. And we were very unlucky actually in that year's Jim Power and Underfoot. It would have been the gang of, say, Billy Power and all that gang, who a good few of year lads there in St. Declan's, the likes of Reese Power and that kind of gang. We had a very good run that Jim Power. We got to, I think, a play final. We were narrowly beaten by Kerry. So that's how it actually kind of all started. And kind of work through then, say, development squads all the way up, as you know, Shane, there wasn't many fellas queuing up for those positions, so it was nearly a thing of that you were just kind of automatically reinstalled every year. But I think it was just to kind of see the guys' improvement, I suppose, over the years, and watching them at club level. And I suppose just, at the end of the day, look, it's nice to be involved with the county team too. I know it's only something you probably look back on when it's over, and then I suppose, like, the likes of that gang who were under 14, say, in that Jim Power year, I can't think of the year now offhand, but whatever it was, whenever Billy Power and them were under 14, and then of course you roll on to 2019 then, and that gang, I don't think we won any game all the way up at, say, underage level. Now, you only had your tournaments or minor level. We didn't win any game, and then 2019 we come along and we beat Clare in under 20 where no one gave us a chance. And I just thought that was, for the gang who had suffered so much all the way up, but yet had kept going. And we were kind of, there's a lot of guys with us there the whole way, like Sir William McGrath, John Mitchell, Tom Guyer, other guys who put a lot into squads over the years, and it was great to actually see them kind of get a win. So that's how it kind of started really. And look, I suppose, look, at the end of the day, it comes from within really, and I suppose just being involved and see the guys trying to progress. But look, I suppose a lot of it is, look, there's not too many putting out their hand up there, but I like to think that's improvement. I know there's a lot of work going on at the minute, but say the strategic review and there's stuff like that going on in development squads, and Jason Ryan, I think, is involved there in the background. So hopefully that will progress. Because at the end of the day, these guys, they need the mentors, I suppose, going up. And look, it's a challenge, but yeah. So that's how it kind of started from. That answers it.
You mentioned Jason, and I suppose I would have spoken at length with Jason over the last few months with that strategic review. But he mentioned a very important point, that even when we were playing for Waterford, that it's not like the hurlers where you're kind of expected to compete at the very top all the time. Is that beating Clare or Tipperary or, we'll say, Limerick is often seen as your All-Ireland final, and I've no problem with that, because you have to crawl before you can run. But like, I would never underestimate the importance of that to a lad beating Clare, because that's, even at the moment, Clare they're in Division 2. That's above our level, and we're in Division 4, and that might inspire 5 or 6 guys from that team to go on and play senior football for Waterford. You're hoping for 5 and 6 and 7 years, and hopefully win Division 4 and maybe compete in the Tailteann Cup. If you can get to a semi-final or a final, fantastic. So like, that work that's going on there and beating Clare, I wouldn't underestimate that. And like, you probably saw the joy when you won that game. Now look, people will probably point in and say, oh, sure, you went out the next day and got hammered by Cork or Kerry. But that's not the level we're competing at. So you're looking in the wrong place. That would be my opinion. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, no, 100%, absolutely. Like, any year I think a draw is made, and even at the minute, like, say, looking at having like, I know it's all on Zoom and stuff at the minute, but like, those 4 county, like Waterford, Limerick, Tip and Clare, we never have any fear of being drawn against them, say at minor or under 20. I don't think you can, because I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's 15 on 15. You go out in the field, you have to be kind of, believe you're just as good as them. And we knew that day, like we'd actually only, like to put that into perspective as well, you think back, we'd actually only 4 weeks done with that squad. There was no under 20 management team there. We were approached after the minor that year. We beat Clare in the minor as well that year in 2019 with a great win in Fairfield. And we drew with Limerick, and we were actually very unlucky not to qualify for the Phase 1 final. Tip beat us in the first round, and they finished ahead of us on scoring average. They kind of bet us well the first day. But that, there's a good few of that gang now, say, played in the 20 last year and progressed. So we had 4 weeks, in fairness, we had your clubmate there, Gary Herney, came on board. Like, he was brilliant, straight away. Like, he just, we didn't do, a massive amount of kind of, running or fitness. They came in naturally fit. So it was all just kind of what way we were going to play. The lads really engaged with it. And, Clare team came down with, Seamus Clancy over them. And look, they're probably a bit cocky, maybe coming down as well. We knew that team on paper, if you go through it, like, there was some exceptional footballers on it as well. Like, I know there was 8 of them probably on the hurling as well that year. The likes of James Power, Billy Power. You had Reese Power there, like Liam Fennell. These guys were quite young. Larry Welsh there from the Nair. Dara Corcoran of St. Saviour's got 1-7 the same night. Remember, like he just gave an exhibition. And it was a great feeling to get over the line. So like, it was totally kind of unexpected outside, but we knew in our own camp if we performed, we could topple them. Look, I know it was only a point in at the end and they missed a free, but at the end of the day, we probably should have been out of sight, But yeah, no, the feelings and the emotions after the match that day were just, it was actually, I was quite emotional on the line. I think everyone was. Some of the players as well who had gone all the way up, without winning a game at football level, all the way up, even at minor. We were very unlucky, I think, against Limerick there with that age group. And then, to come along and win under 20 game was just massive, And I know we went down, we got hockeyed by Cork down Clonakilty, but like Cork went on to win the All-Ireland that year, So they're on a different level, but to us, that was an achievement in itself to beat Clare. And again, as I say, Clare in Division 2, and they're putting in a lot of work, I think, Shane, underage level. So that's where we need to kind of get to really, But I'd say, look, I don't think you can have any fear, So on the year we're drawn against them, you just have to go out and believe, But that was a great moment. I suppose it's something we didn't really believe at the time, but I suppose it's now when you look back on it, it was a fair achievement, all right, to get a first win in 13 years that year as well. So I suppose it's nice to say, to be associated with that too. And look, sure, please God, a couple of more wins now at minor and under 20. They're not too far around the corner, please God.
And how do you see the future of football in the county? And do you think the talent is there to actually compete at that high level that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, look, it's a tough one. I suppose you could give a good while talking about it, but I suppose, look, we've been lucky. I suppose from my gang all the way up that there's been reasonably good cooperation, like as regards the dual players. That's been the issue, I suppose. And look, myself, I think with the cooperation of, I suppose, both management teams and that, like it can be done. Like I feel, what I mean. Now, up as far as under 20. Now, obviously at senior, you're talking a whole different level there, but I think if you get the right structures in place, I know there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes at the minute, development squads and things like that. But look, I suppose it's important that you just try and get your best fellas out there, and that in itself is a challenge. But I suppose, look, there's a few areas to look at. I suppose the football strong clubs, get a few more of them involved, maybe at development squad level and things like that. But I suppose, look, it's hard to put your pretty finger on it, like right now. But I think, look, there's definitely talent there. There's some super footballers coming through, but these guys, I suppose, as well, are equally at good at both, And obviously, hurling is number one in the county. There's no denying that. But if you can get a good cohort of people involved in football, I think it's going to drive it forward again. You know what I mean? Because, as I said, the talent is there, and you just want to try and get up to that level of, because Limerick, Clare, any of those teams, I think we're well capable of competing against them. So yeah, that'll be thoughts on it at the minute. It's hard to put your exact finger on it now, Adam, but I think there's definitely, if the structures are put in place, that there's a good future. Like, I mean, you see, like, say, Waterford teams over the years, Shane's team, Ballycorty, like Strably, Rathcormac, even there when they played Milltown and the Munster club, like, they've competed very well in Munster. So just goes to show that, who will no fear, I suppose, just go out and give it a rattle. So yeah, that'll be that anyway, I suppose, Adam.
And you host On the Ball on WLR, and you regularly commentate in the games. Would that be a real passion of yours for the radio?
Yeah, it would actually. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose I've always been kind of passionate about that, the commentary in particular, and the radio work and that. I actually kind of went back on on a part-time in WLR just to do the Monday night and getting around to a few more games, because I suppose I was in the full-time position and you were kind of tied to working probably weekends just on the desk, and that I suppose I was missing out on that out and about opportunity of getting out to games. So having done that kind of for the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I just felt I kind of needed it. The streams and that through Nematon and say with TV there, Halloran, it was great crack as well, but like as well as great opportunities that it puts you out there too. You know what I mean? I suppose I was only just the other day just going through those games, filing those games away just to, I suppose keep them on, to send them off to a few places or keep them on file, because I got good feedback from them. I got a gig there with GA Go on for the Carlow Sligo League game there last year through the GA Go platform, which was good, so there's progress being made there, and I suppose look down the line you'd like to get maybe nationally, maybe commentating on a few of the big games, maybe down the line that'll be an ambition, but I suppose at the minute, you don't have to be granted to be commentating now on any sort of game really at the minute, but so I've always had a kind of an interest in that really from a young age. That's always been there. I was inside the Brothers CBS secondary school there. I think one of the Christmas concert at one stage, I stood up front of the chair in front of the whole school and started doing the commentary in the 2004 Munster final. So just kind of off the cuff, like, and kind of, fellas thought it was kind of great, but things like that. So and I suppose, look, it was still great to do the Monday night show inside too, because just to keep keeps the eye in, and I suppose the Mondays are grand because you're kind of just reflecting on the weekends gone by. So even at the minute, like, you go in and you might think that it's, geez, what like put on tonight's show at the end. It's actually kind of, you wouldn't be long filling it, like, you know what I mean, because it's kind of just looking back at the weekend that's gone. I know there's been mainly kind of soccer and rugby on it and stuff like that, but doing bits the last couple of weeks there with a couple of hurlers. I was talking to Jack Fagan there last week, and he got an award there off the lads in Meath there, like, which was a nice touch. So just kind of talking to him about the work they're doing behind the scenes, that kind of angle of it as well. So you can get different angles on it, things like that. And I suppose we're not really getting out and about as much, to meet people. But I think, covering like kind of projects and things like that is great. Like, I know you had even your own 6th-year student there, Colin Power. I know you had him on a couple of weeks ago. Like, what he did there for Pieta and that was brilliant. Like, it was second to none. So just to highlight those things as well, I suppose is important. You're meeting new people, and I suppose things like that. So yeah, that'll be a strong point, all right. As you can see by this, as you can tell, I'm pretty well able to talk anyway. So anyway, just up there for a while.
And it's interesting because, like, say for instance 15, 20 years ago, you have the advent of, say, I suppose maybe 15 onwards, the smartphone and the internet, and everyone thought radio was going to go the way of, say, I suppose, broadsheets and newspapers. But actually it seems that radio has become more popular than ever. And that now with podcasts and with, you can stream off your phone or app off your phone, and like you've more content than ever before, that like radio is the choice way a lot of people get their information now, and especially sports. Like, you have obviously WLR FM, you've Off the Ball in the evening times, one on 2FM, and then you've Off the Ball AM. Like, it's never been as popular.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose, look, that could be maybe related to COVID too, like with more people kind of tune in or whatever. But no, I think there'll always be a place for it, because you want your local result, to your local angle, you're going to tune into that local station, and I suppose it's local stories as well that you want to see. And I know last year when things were getting up and running, we started doing a few call outs to clubs, how they were getting out up and running, say starting like be golf clubs or GA clubs, whatever, like things like that. So I think that's important, and then if people, the word don't be long spreading now as well, then, like, say, like, like your own thing now, like the podcast, like that's been a brilliant story. It's been a phenomenal success, fairness to you, so things like that, you wouldn't have really thought of that a couple of years ago. But yeah, the radio is, I think it's still there, and I think that local angle as well is there, because that's where you go for your local content. And I know that there's a great team there in WLR as well. They've been brilliant support to myself, and still are, like, and there's a great team ethos in there. They're kind of a small, close-knit kind of station, you know what I mean? And they just, the work they do behind the scenes, not just the on-air people, but to the kind of sales people. And I know that's kind of a challenging time at the minute, I suppose, trying to sell stuff and that. But the admin, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So we're based down there in the broadcast centre, like Beater down there as well too. So there's a bit of banter there as well. I know now there's probably a different target audience now compared to the two stations, but there's a good bit of banter there and crack there as well. So yeah, no, I think it's a great medium to be a part of, because I know you just get, even the Mondays there, you'd be going in and doing the show, and you just you get a bit of a buzz there of actually doing that. You don't really realize sometimes. You sometimes think in your head that, oh, Jesus, I'm saying this now. Geez, there's so many people. Geez, this fella be listening now. Sometimes, you know, I get that into my head at times. And sometimes you're nearly just saying, look, just concentrate now on what you're doing. But I suppose you don't realize at times, actually, you know, who's tuning in. And I don't think you can do that either, because that maybe puts you off. You just go in, do it kind of, you know, I'm more kind of an off the cuff kind of person anyway. So, yeah, but it's brilliant to be part of it. So, yeah, hopefully we'll keep that going as well.
We've no censor on this podcast. We regularly have Billy Welch abusing people here, so don't worry about cutting the back off anyone here.
I see that. Yeah, no, I'd say Billy now he'd be well able to throw in a few digs now if he was on there. But no, I know. Look, in fairness, what you're doing there as well is brilliant. You know, and I know it's challenging time as well for the students. I know, like, some of the 5th, 6th years are back there as well, but like, I think it's just been a great initiative. And like, I don't know, I'm gonna ask, maybe Adam would put the finger on this. Like, how did you come up with the whole idea? Was it something you had set in stone, or like, because since it's got going, like, it's been really excellent, you know?
I suppose one of the things in the course was kind of a media module kind of a thing, and Mr. Briggs just kind of said it to us, would you like to do a podcast? I suppose the matches, the winter championship was kind of coming around at that stage, so we kind of would have something to actually review or look at the matches. And then we just kind of started getting the guests on, a few of the local players, like Callum Lyons and all. And then we just kind of kept it going for the last few months, I suppose, 1 or 2 a week. And yeah, that's how we just kind of got into it.
Yeah, I know, it's been great entertainment. So yeah, I think might have a few more presenters there in the mix there, Shane, with the Adam and the lads there. So yeah, no, fair play to you on that.
And just on the soccer, Gavin, yourself and Matt Keane seem to have great chemistry there.
Well, you wouldn't want to be spending too much time with Matt Keane now, but yeah, look, I suppose look, he's a great character. In fairness, he's been great support there. In fairness, like, I've known Matt since I started off in WLR, first covering a few games and that, and he was always great. Like, there's that bit of banter to him too. Like, but I suppose when he goes on air, he's serious too. He's just so passionate, like, about the soccer. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like the Blues and Waterford FC, and just the amount of stuff like he puts up during the week, and he just can't wait for games. And like, it's, you know, they're playing Sligo now this Friday. I'm actually going down to that game myself as well. So it's great to be kind of, you know, that's back, and, you know, to look forward to games. But yeah, some of the road trips we've had now. We went to Derry there to cover a game there last year, and we had an overnight there, I suppose, and look, the less said about that now, the better. But look, we got on with it. You know, we went up, did the game. I suppose we enjoyed ourselves afterwards, things like that. Came back down then the following day. But yeah, I suppose it's challenging enough covering that League of Ireland, you know, especially I suppose some of the challenge, like the long journeys to Derry and Finn Harps away and things like that. So no, but it's been great to be involved in that too, because say if Ray Scott wasn't available for a few games, I can kind of fill in then for him, which is just great to get that opportunity as well. But yeah, in fairness to Matt, he's been a great support. He's just so popular. Like, everyone in Waterford knows him. He just, you know, he's just Mr. You know, he's a great knowledge, you know, not alone of soccer. Like, he's interested in all sports as well. So yeah, he's going a long time now. But I was chatting to him there a couple of weeks ago. There's plenty of like left in him yet, and there's no doubt about that. Like, if you want to put him down nearly to get rid of him, but no, he's so into it. And so he's such a part as well, and integral part of Waterford as well. You know, when you hear the voice that you know, you cannot beat that live football kind of thing. You know, it's kind of nearly in my head now at this stage as well, but I can't do it as good as he can now. But no, he's great. He's great banter. He's a great character. And, as I say, he's well known as well, and I know, like, you know, he would have been up. You know, Shane probably would have seen him at a few, say, football sessions over there. He'd go up there with Frankie Ryan. He'd do his interviews, he'd do his recordings, things like that. He'd maybe get 10 or 11 players done the same night. So every fella coming out to door would be nabbed by Matt. Hey, will you come over here for a few words? You know, and sure, you couldn't say no to him, kind of way. You know, and he'd nab him and he'd send him in then. So no, he does a lot of great work behind the scenes, in fairness. So yeah, in fairness, he's a good character, in fairness, a good friend as well. Yeah. So yeah.
I'd like to thank Gavin for joining us today, and best of luck in all the endeavours for the year. I'll ask you again to please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you soon on Extra Time.